Working on something a little bit different today. We got a wonderful Toyota in here. Basically, I mean, my experience with Toyotas is they're always rusty. So this one has some rust problems. Basically, it's a little chilly in here too. So, basically, brake line, actual metal brake line, rusted through. I replaced the one side that runs across the differential. I'll show you what it looks like. And I'm going to be doing the short one on the driver's side. So I'll show you what you got to do for that. Let's take a look. You can actually see the line. I don't really have to point that out. But it was running across here, goes up across, and then patches in there. There's actually two separate hoses that feed each side. I'll show you what we had. Now, this is the line that I'd pulled off. Okay. Now, this has this rubber coating on here. I didn't clean any of that off to see what it looks like underneath, but this was this part that was closest to the wheel. You can see how rusty that is. Here was the other one. This went up around, and I actually cleaned this off because this is where it was leaking, right at this end. Right where the plastic coating meets the metal line, that's where it was spraying out. It has the whole back of this truck covered, okay? All right, so this is looking in from the passenger or the driver's side in the rear. I have that wheel off. This one did have the frame replaced. I don't know if that was a warranty thing or what, but I'm sure it was pretty rusty based on the way a lot of this stuff looks. So now this line runs down across, and you can see where the metal line's out and then the plastic coating is down here. It does have some black spray paint on it, as whoever did the frame, they coated everything with black spray paint to kind of hide the rust. Now, this line runs out around, comes over to here. What I'm going to do first is I have this cutoff wheel. You could use a little saw or whatever. I'm basically just going to come in here. I'm going to zip this off here. On this end, I'm going to cut this one very close to the end here. All right. I did get in here and clean this up. You can tell right in this area, I did hit this with the wire brush. And the reason why I'm cutting this off is I'm going to be able to get on here with a socket that is a 6-point, so we'll have good contact when it comes time to break that end loose, and I'm going to remove that. Same with this end also over here when I cut that off. I need to get a wire brush and get in here and clean this just a little bit more down in here to get some more away from this back edge. I'm going to be removing the bleeder, and both of these ends here because I'll be reusing them as I reuse this one. And then I'm going to show you what you got to do next. All right, so we're working with 3/16 inch brake line, okay? So here is the fitting that I removed. I have it clamped into my vice grips to actually hold that. So I have a 3/16 inch drill bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to insert it and drill in the side. So once we drilled through the rusty part, you can see there's a good bit of corrosion on there and where we drilled. This will fall right out. That's just a simple double flare end. And then you can look in here and inspect this. And just simply, you know what I mean? You have the drill bit. It fits in here loose, but you want to make sure this is good and clean. Nothing too crazy. Okay, so we got that cleaned up that way. Now, I'm just going a little extra step. I'm just cleaning this top part off. All right, just like that. I'm going to do the same with the ends, but I'm also I have a wire brush set up, so I'm going to do this. Yeah, just to give you a real good picture of that. A little bit of rust dust. All right, if you take a look at this, hopefully you can see, we did clean that. You can kind of see some rusty. I didn't go crazy. The reason why I do this is because this is supposed to be a 10 mil. And if you get rust on here, this doesn't fit. It'll fit too tight. It won't fit loose. You won't be able to get you'll be fighting to get your wrench on and off, especially if you have any of this. If you have these also where you've actually started to twist on these, you could take that grinder or a file and then refile your edges square, and that'll help you get your wrench or your closed end or your socket to fit onto that. So now I got to get the other one off, and I'll show you what line we're using. There's multiple different kinds of line that you can use, okay? What is the cheapest is going to be this. This is a steel line. This can be purchased by the roll, just like this. This is just a small piece here for demonstration purposes. Now, this line, like I said, it's made out of steel. It is coated. It does resist rust, okay? So it's 3/16 line. You'd put your fitting on here, and then you'd put your compressor, your holder, and then you would do your flaring on the end of this. Now, the steel line is a little bit harder to, one, flare on the end because this is a harder metal. Eventually, like if this coating gets damaged or rubbed, it can corrode also. It is also a lot harder to shape, okay? Now, there's different types of tools that you can get to do this, and stuff to bend line. So, you know, to get stuff, you want to make sure that you don't get any kinks into your lines if you want to make a nice perfect bend. I also have this older type. It will actually do the same thing. See? The steel line, like I was saying, is a lot harder to flex by hand. Okay? This stuff here is very easy to straighten out. Look. Let's just do this. Just move it just a little bit. It's bending it straight. Okay? You can do it, but it doesn't go as easy. Okay, not only this, I forget what this is made out of. Doesn't really say what it's made out of. It just says it's DOT approved on here. This doesn't corrode, it doesn't rust. I think this is like brass maybe, or copper, or some kind of compound. I forget, I just don't know. But you can also, if you want to, you know, you can bend it with this right here. We'll bend it just as easy. But like I said, you can shape this. You can shape this with your hands very simply. So this is what I'm opting to use on here right now. The only difference between this and this is this right here is almost double, more than double the cost of what the steel line is. So, I mean, if you have the time and you're putting it on a truck that doesn't see too much, this is probably fine. I mean, this is probably more for, like aftermarket, street rods, stuff like that, where you want it to look good, where you can't get in and bend it. You can get in there and shape it with your hands. Just makes a lot nicer of a fit. I just know it's never going to go bad on this, and I'm just kind of trying to do it so it's a lot easier on my hands. Now let's get this line made. All right, so here's just something really quick. They do give you an instruction manual with a brake flaring tool kit, okay? For a double flaring tool, this will do all kinds of different sizes, all right? So basically, you're going to run your line through the clamp, okay? And then you line it up with your flare tool piece, all right? Then you put that in, and then you flare it, you take it out, and then you'll run it back down in twice. Now let's take a look at this, okay? So here's the plate. It has the sizes on it. You're going to want to put your end that you need to flare on, because you're not going to get it on after you flare these, okay? This slides open. Get it in the right spot, just like that. Loosen this a little bit. I'm going to take this, going to lay it here, going to line it up. Right there. Lock it in place. I'll take this and just lock it. This butterfly bolts just like that. Okay, this back out. Take this, it has a little point on the end. Stick it in like that. Center it in the pin. You can see where we're at. If not, let's go a little bit all right. You can see we have a space right down here. We're going to bring this in. All right. Push that down in. Pull that out. Stick the cone of this down in the middle. Tighten that down. All right, you can see that's our flare. Take your end. This is a really nice Craftsman kit. I don't think that this is available anymore. It's pretty similar to like maybe Snap-on, Matco, something like that. Now we got to bend it just a little bit where it's not straight enough for this to slide out. Let's see. Just gonna take this, squeeze it back on here. There we go. All right. If you're doing a line like this, and you don't want this to just end up flowing back, sometimes these will roll back. I'll actually put some tape on it. This one seems to be pretty good. Now, I have to get the measurement for the length of the pipe, the line, and then I can flare the other end on. And it's going to be just like this one, and I'll show you getting this thing installed. Okay, so I got the brake line on, and when you're by yourself, you can use like a vacuum pump to bleed, or you can gravity bleed. So I'm kind of gravity bleeding this out. But let's take a look. You can see we have the other line on. That clip was really rusty over there, and it kind of wanted to spin. So the clip actually broke down there on that. So this actually holds it in place pretty good. I would have liked to replace these hoses, but then we get into having to replace the brake lines that are on the frame, and I just can't believe when they installed the frame that some of this stuff that they reinstalled on this truck. But this line is on. We gravity bled both of these sides out. The pedal has good feel now, but this is basically, you know, brake line replacement. I could have made these a little bit nicer also. New brackets would have been nice to put the lines in. Everything's good the way that I have it, and it's gonna work for a long time. So there's brake line 101.